At the end of this video, you're going to be able to answer these 5 questions. What is microlearning? Why should you use microlearning? Where should microlearning be used and who uses it? What is the process for developing microlearning? And what should I look for in a microlearning platform? Also, you'll walk away with 5 best practices regarding microlearning. If this video leaves you with unanswered questions, read the blog with the same title. You can find it in the description of this video. Question 1. What is microlearning? I think Shannon Tipton probably answers that question best in an interview where she said, microlearning is short content to solve a specific problem. She doesn't mention length of time, and she doesn't mention modality. Also, when she's pressed on time, she says, microlearning is as long as necessary and as short as possible. So first and foremost, microlearning delivers a solution to a problem. Second, microlearning delivers a solution with short content. But what do I mean by short? A great example of microlearning is looking up how to change your oil on YouTube. Now, let's say that you search for 2005 Honda Accord oil change. This video by DIY Guys comes up. It's 1 minute and 50 seconds. Really short content. You'll find that they have about 9,000 views. Pretty good, right? Here's a short answer to a problem. But as you search, you also find Robert DIY, who has an 11.5 minute video on the exact same thing. Now this video is much longer, yet he has close to 91,000 views. So in this case, the longer content has 10 times the views as the shorter content. Microlearning is really about answering the question of how do you do a job? And if it answers a specific question, then time is a little bit relative. So the best practice is microlearning content answers a question to solve a problem. Question 2. Why should you use microlearning? The oil change example shows us why. YouTube culture. Here's what I mean. Whenever somebody has a problem, they answer it by going immediately to the internet. Specifically, people go to Google and YouTube to find a solution. This shouldn't be a shock to us. We know that information is a commodity. That's what Stephen Rhyne, the president and founder of ConveYour, says. And Craig Weiss, the CEO of FindAnLMS.com, says, content is a commodity. So what does that mean for you? Well, it means that if information and content are commodities, then your employees and your clients and your future clients are searching for answers. If they can't get answers from you, they're going to go to look for it someplace else. In other words, if you're not driving people to your business with content, then you're losing business or you're losing efficiency. The best practice for the second question is microlearning content should be easily accessible to those who need it. Question 3. Where should microlearning be used and who uses it? Well, microlearning should be used whenever you're trying to reinforce behaviors. So this is training, onboarding, and skill development. Things that you need your people to learn and do. Again, consider the oil change example. What if your people were able to easily find solutions that increase their productivity or that reinforce behaviors that you've been modeling? This is where microlearning shines. As to who uses microlearning, just search for LMS or e-learning platforms and you'll find that the biggest and the best corporations are implementing it. But it's also used by international corporations, small businesses, private businesses, universities, and more. While microlearning didn't necessarily make these companies successful, it's safe to say that successful companies develop and adopt processes that reinforce their success. Processes that supply their people with easily accessible information. So microlearning, if used properly, can help you create these processes too. The best practice? Microlearning content should be used to create and reinforce behaviors. Question 4. What is the process of developing microlearning? First, create a budget. Then plan an outcome. Then turn your outcome into a step-by-step process. And then develop content around that process. Let's break that down. First, the budget isn't just the first step, but something you'll create as you do all the steps, especially if you haven't done microlearning already. Creating a budget is important, but it isn't the most important. It's just the step that has to be considered the entire time. Second, and really the most important step, is determine your outcome. Remember, microlearning attempts to solve a problem. So answer the question, what is the solution I'm trying to give to my people? Third, after you have an outcome that you want your people to do, then you have to break it down into a logical progression of steps. Also, you need to make sure that you stay on point. In the oil change videos, they didn't talk about the first company to change oil. Again, you'll be driving people toward a real-world solution, not a history of the topic. Fourth, once you have your process, develop content that focuses on each of the stages of your process. These steps are microlearning, and they are your content. Now, you're going to deliver this content through video, audio, infographics, articles and blogs, and quizzes and tests. Best practice. Microlearning should be clear. This is done through carefully budgeting, planning, processing, and developing content. Question 5. What should you look for in a microlearning platform? After you plan an outcome, you need a way to determine if you're hitting the mark. A platform will assist with this. When searching for one, keep the acronym FOAM in mind. F-O-A-M. Functionality, on-par experience, analytics, and motivation. Functionality. First, because you're developing content, you need functionality to get your content to your people. So again, audio, video, infographics, articles and blogs, and quizzes and testing. Successful microlearning delivers these formats to your participants. On-par experience. Next, you need an intuitive platform that your participants utilize. Because they're on YouTube consuming information, your learners will be more engaged if you can match some of the features they have come to expect. So think ease of use and intuitive, not just for the learner, but also for the trainer. Analytics. A problem with YouTube is that you can't use it to motivate because you don't know who's consuming your material. So you're going to have to find a platform that gives metrics and scores participants' results. Would you like to know if your learners are viewing the content that you have spent so much time and energy creating? On top of allowing you to quiz, a good microlearning platform will tell you how much of a video your learners watch. Also, you will need analytics to measure whether the outcome you planned is being accomplished. But how can you drive behavior changes if you don't know if your people are participating? Motivation. Because of metrics, you can motivate. Quality microlearning offers gamification, a point system, and scoreboards and leaderboards. If you know who's growing, you can point it out. This can help to drive change in your organization by motivating your participants. Again, remember, you're trying to create and reinforce behaviors. Best practice? Microlearning should be delivered through a functional method with an on-par experience while measuring analytics and motivating learning participants. If you need a deeper dive into microlearning, check out the article that this video is based upon. Finally, please consider liking, commenting, or sharing this content if it was helpful for you. And don't forget to check out our video on developing content. You can find a link to it in this video's description. Until next time, I'm Jason from ConveYour. Happy training.